I'm Stephanie Link. I'm CIO of The Street, and here with me is the oil expert for Real Money, Dan Dicker. Dan, let's talk a little bit of oil. Let's talk about oil prices in particular. You're looking at a few things that suggest maybe oil prices can move higher.
Yeah, it's a little deep in the weeds, Stephanie, and I know that some people don't like to talk about this, but I'm an oil trader, so I look at the curve of prices in the futures market. That gives an oil trader a different kind of perspective than just looking at the price that you'll see, for example, when you look at CNBC or Bloomberg. That's the price you see on the board. That's just the front month. But what's been happening is that the market has gone into what we call a deep backwardation, which means that prices are higher closer to the front of the curve. So as you go back into the curve, prices get lower. Now, intuitively, you might think that that's a bearish sign because as you go out further in time, you get lower prices in oil. But in fact, it's the opposite. Most of the rallies that we've had, at least short to midterm rallies in the crude market historically have been done in what we call a backwardated market.
Now, is this because oil prices have lagged some of the other commodity prices in terms of oil prices have come down? Commodity prices have come down, but oil prices have stayed okay.
Right.
Now you're starting to see the reverse, where some of the other commodities are starting to actually creep higher. Is this maybe just oil following that?
No.
What do you think that is?
What I think is going on is, and there's another indicator that we have, it's something called open interest, and that gives an idea of how many participants are entering the oil market at any one time. And that's been gaining strength for the last several months. Okay. And that to me indicates the same thing as the backwardated market does, that in fact we're getting money flow into these markets. We continue to get money flow into these markets. And in fact, that's another reason why I think that oil is not done going higher.
And what sector specifically are you playing?
Well, the thing that you got to look for all the time is when we're looking at a WTI price that's up at 106 and we think may actually go to 110 or higher, we want those mid-cap E&P names that are dealing with domestic oil, liquids, and staying away from the natural gas, staying away from the services. That's what we want, those mid-cap, not the big majors, but the ones that are focused directly in domestic E&P.
And how about services? I mean, I would think that if you think oil prices go higher, you want the highest beta, and E&P certainly are at mid-cap.
Right.
But services too, they have very high beta in correlation to higher oil prices.
The trouble with the services is that it's not as directly focused into exactly where you want it to be focused, and that is those domestic oil players that are pulling out U.S. crude and U.S. NGLs. Those are the ones you want. That's all you want. The oil services guys, they're all over the planet. They can be offshore, they can be onshore, they can be in Europe, they can be in Africa, they can be in Asia. Right. What you want is something directly focused, as closely and directly focused as you can to those domestic players.
That makes sense. So what names?
Well, some of the ones that I'm looking at are kind of interesting. Bonanza Creek, which is in the Niobrara. There are a couple of Klein shales. We call them the Wolfcamp plays. One that I'm looking at, well, Pioneer Natural Resources in the Wolfcamp, but it's been going nuts. Something that's been a little less heavily hyped at this point, something like Cimarex, XEC. These are smaller cap names, but they're so closely focused into these areas. Those are the ones I'm looking at right now.
Would you throw in a Devon by any chance?
Devon I'm looking at all the time. Again, not oily enough for me yet, but it's getting there. Believe me, I love them.
The valuation is definitely there, that's
God,
for sure.
do I want to buy them so badly. But again, they're still too closely tied into natural gas for me to get excited about them right now. But I'm getting there. I'm always watching them. I want them bad.
Thanks so much, Dan.
Okay.